Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Yeah, look at that. Superman the movie on 4K. Love that film. That film is the godfather of Superman, and that is the level that James Gunn must reach to. No, I'm wrong. He has to make a better movie than Superman the movie. Superman the movie, a man of steel, a magnum opuses in terms of those directors and what they achieved with both those films. But this film was groundbreaking. Anyway, I do have some DC Universe updates for you, and Wendell Pierce has been cast as Perry White. Yes, Wendell is an actor of colour, so I'm going to give you my opinion on this casting. My attitude to Wendell's casting is the same as my attitude towards Larry Fishburne's casting as Perry White in 2013's Man of Steel. A great actor is a great actor. Larry Fishburne not only is a great actor, has great screen presence, he was a great Perry White. I love the interactions between him and Amy Adams as Lois Lane in Man of Steel. I thought it was great. And then the banter between him and Henry Cavill in BVS was outstanding, right? So that's my feelings. Wendell Pierce is probably going, he's more suited to playing Perry and has Perry within him more than even Larry Fishburne did. It's a great piece of casting, and the colour of the man's skin doesn't matter, because all I ask for when you're casting these roles, when you bring in a director or when you cast a CEO at a studio, is they're good enough to do their job. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Latino, Latinx, right? Whatever you are, wherever you're from, as long as you deserve to be in that role and you're going to do a good job within that role. And Wendell Pierce is a great actor. But beyond that, when I look at him and I look into his soul, I see Perry White. So for me, it's a brilliant piece of casting. But you don't have to agree with me. You can comment down below and let me know what you think. And it's fine if you disagree, as long as you disagree constructively. We don't have to scream and shout over a $1 trillion industry. These are very wealthy people we're talking about at the end of the day. We shouldn't be getting angry. And I understand that art is subjective and films are subjective and stories and television. It's all subjective. But in my opinion, this is another great piece of casting by James Gunn. But here's the thing about all the casting in James Gunn's Superman movie. I nearly called it Superman Legacy. I nearly made that mistake. This cast has no marquee value. This film has no marquee value. They're all great, perfect actors. They're brilliantly cast. This is a brilliantly cast movie thus far. We're still waiting for the casting of Jonathan and Martha Kent, and it'll be interesting who he brings in for those roles. What do I mean by no marquee value? There's no Marlon Brando, there's no Glenn Ford, there's no Gene Hackman type, there's no Russell Crowe, there's no Kevin Costner, there's no Amy Adams. Even Superman Returns, had Kevin Spacey before all the bad stuff about him came out as Lex Luthor. And he was an outstanding Lex. And that was at a time when the best Lex Luthor ever, Michael Rosenbaum, was, weekly playing Lex Luthor in Smallville. So they really needed a great actor, and they did. Spacey is a great Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg isn't everyone's cup of tea, but he is a generational talent and one of the best actors that came from the independent film circuit. I think in terms of being an actor and performance, he did a wonderful job. Maybe not the Lex Luthor we wanted or would have chosen ourselves, but I think he was a very, very good Lex, and I enjoyed his performance as Lex Luthor. And his characterization is very similar to in the comics, because that's how deeply Lex despises Superman in the comics. So at the very least, Snyder and Terrio got that right. And Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I mean, Jesus Christ. Nick Holt is an outstanding actor, and he's been wielding his trade for a hell of a long time. As a young actor, he's matured wonderfully, recently being in a wonderful kind of comedy with Nicolas Cage as well. So he's going to be great. Everyone, Rachel Brosnahan, David Corenswet is an amazing guy, and he's an actor for the right reasons. He loves all these films. He loves Superman. He's wanted to play Superman all his life. But this cast don't have any marquee value. There's no one in this film where you're going to say, where the general audience are going to say in their droves, in their millions, we better see this film because of those actors. But it's a perfectly cast film. But if your film is great and is awesome and is epic and it does the right things, then you don't need marquee value. Especially these days, because there's no movie stars anymore. Back in the day of this film, Superman 78, or, there was a need for star names. I mean, they were looking for like superstars to play Superman. They wanted Robert Redford. They wanted people like that. They actually asked Redford. They offered Lex Luthor and Superman to Dustin Hoffman. I don't know how many of you know that. It was insane. Then when Dick Donner took over the project, he goes, look, I'm not going to believe they're Superman. I'm not going to believe they can fly. We need an unknown. And, the guy who was doing the casting kept on bringing Christopher Reeve's picture up front, and they would put it under the rest of them. But in the end, Christopher Reeve spoke to Dick Donner, and the rest is history. Look, the man is perfect. He looks like the comic book Superman. And, it's a hard job. When people, every time there's a new iteration, a new casting for Superman, they ask me, how do you think he's going to do compared to Christopher Reeve? And I say, well, it's very, very difficult to compare an ordinary person to a god, because look at him. He looks freaking perfect. Amazing. So Wendell Pearce has been cast as Perry White. And, it's been an extremely busy week to be a DC Universe fan and a Superman fan. The hype levels are so high. As I say, please let me know what you think about the casting of Wendell Pearce. I'm very, very happy. And if you've seen him perform before, you'll know what I do, that he's perfect to play Perry White. But it's been a very surprising week in terms of revelations. Of course, on Superman's birthday, we saw the logo for Superman. It looks stunning. I'm going to reiterate this. I'm very, very happy with the logo. But what do you think about the title change of the movie? I think it's a very interesting thing. Why did he change the title of the movie from Superman Legacy to Superman? I mean, look, if they make a sequel to this movie, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, I would like it to be Superman something. I don't want Superman 2. I don't want Superman 3. I don't want Superman 4. I want Superman. I like the idea of Superman, when they did Superman and the Mole Men, and Superman Returns. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. It should have just been Superman, The Quest for Peace. You didn't need Superman 4. So, yeah. But for the first film in this brand new universe, this brand new iteration of DC, it's absolutely fine to call it Superman. And it's clear why he's doing it. As we discussed yesterday, it's all about nostalgia. And I was thinking, how similar is James Gunn's Superman going to be to this film, Superman 78, which is an iconic movie? Why is Superman 78 the movie that everyone looks to, that everyone's inspired by? A lot of Snyderverse fans say to me, what's so good about Superman the movie? Man of Steel is such a better movie. Look at the effects, look at the cinematography. Right, okay, let me be straight with you, right? Zack Snyder, if you put Zack Snyder in a TARDIS or a DeLorean that happened to be a time machine, and you took him back to 1976 when they started making this movie, and you said, right, Zack, no CGI, no computers, right? You've got to make a Superman movie. He wouldn't know where to start. Now, if you take Dick Donner from 1976 and take him to 2012, 2011, when Zack was making his movie, he wouldn't have a clue how to make a CGI-centric Superman film, right? Do you understand my point? What Dick Donner did and his team did in that movie was miraculous. It was virtually impossible to make a film like this. So, you know, that's why it's the film everyone looks up to. And it's just a brilliant Superman movie. No, it's not very epic. He's not fighting Zod. He's not fighting a creature. He's not fighting an alien. He's saving people from collapsing, things. It's a volcano, there's missiles, but it's still a very cool film. Take yourself back to 1978, right? Where the only miraculous film they'd seen before that was Star Wars, that broke ground in VFX. This was a huge achievement, and it was very, very faithful to the comics, and it was very romantic, and it was very poetic, and the way Chris flied in the movie was also very, very poetic. It wasn't, in Man of Steel, they were bragging about Superman flying faster than he ever did before. Well, in this movie, he was gliding. He was poetically flying. I mean, the flying scenes in Superman the movie, even today, are fantastic and brilliantly done. Using a lot of kind of techniques that, of course, they would never use today. But they broke the mold with this film. What Dick Donner achieved with this film is miraculous. I've watched so many documentaries on this movie, and you should too. But for me, Superman the movie and Man of Steel are the best Superman films ever made. And that's the level that James Gunn has to reach to. And I was thinking last night for a minute until I kind of thought, no way, because obviously there's different characters, in this film. But I thought, is he remaking Superman the movie with his Superman film? It's an interesting question. Obviously, Guy Gardner wasn't in Superman 78. Hawkgirl wasn't in Superman 78. It doesn't mean he can't adapt Superman 78 to his version of the film. It's looking like Rachel Brosnahan won't be a redhead and will have the same dark brown, jet black hair as Margot Kidder did as Lois Lane in Superman 78. That's interesting. We have an Otis. We have a Miss Tessmacher! So all the elements are very, very similar, aren't they? But will the vibe be the same? Now, we did discuss this when they did tell us that they cast an actor to play Otis. And I said it's very important to be original. Because there's another actual rumour that kind of makes this theory quite wrong. Because apparently there's a rumour, and it's not been substantiated by the way, that the villain Mongol could be in James Gunn's Superman. Now, Mongol is a character, a villain from a place called Warworld, and that's my limitations of my knowledge on him. I've seen animated features with him in it, but I don't know the character so well. I don't know what makes him tick. I don't really know his origin story, but the look of him is pretty awesome. I'd be very happy for the little amount I know of Mongol for him to be in this movie. That would be very, very interesting. And what James does with these kind of characters is give them kind of, he gives them characters. He gives them motivations for being, and that could be very, very interesting. I mean, imagine Superman ending up in Warworld in this film. Wouldn't that be it? I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? But we don't know. James did tease a textless picture of Superman from the comics yet again, and people are saying it's from a comic book with Mongol in it, which makes things very, very interesting. But there's a lot of people out there who are going to tell you, oh, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. I mean, I've been quite surprised by a lot of the things I've seen announced for this movie. There's a lot of things I haven't seen coming. And that's a good thing. Because at the end of the day, James Gunn knows how to keep his secrets when he wants to. There's stuff that's come out that scoopers have told us about, but a lot of the stuff the scoopers have told us about has been wrong as well. So is this a remake of Superman 78? I think it could be inspired a lot by Superman 78. And let's go back to the fact that the other day, when it was Superman's birthday, and you had Rachel Brosnahan, and you had Nicholas Hoult, and you had David Cornswept wearing the tea cozy, doing that little thing with the Superman 78 theme from John Williams. And I thought that was very, very interesting. And I think maybe that was another hint that we are going to get that John Williams theme in James Gunn's Superman. I even suspected, as you know, many months ago, that John Williams may compose his theme again, and may compose a few themes for this movie. But then he announced, his long collaborator John Murphy for composing the music. Now, John Murphy is a great composer. He's done a lot of great scores. We haven't seen him do great themes. He does do themes, but we don't know what he's going to give us with this movie. But I do know it's just going to be a symphonic score. So I do know it's going to be quite traditional. And James likes the music on set while he's shooting. It gives him the feeling, and it gives the actors more motivation to deliver even better performances. And James does this a lot. I like that idea. I think that's a very cool idea. As an actor, I would love that. I've always been inspired when I'm reading my lines to listen to some classic movie music, or from my favourite TV show that really inspires me, something from, Giacchino's Lost soundtrack, which always inspires me as well. So I think that's a really cool thing. So John Murphy is doing the score for James Gunn's Superman, but I do think they're probably going to use that music. And I'm fine with that, because it is a Superman anthem. I love the idea of Hope, the Man of Steel theme. Man of Steel was a very brave contemporary movie, because it really didn't take anything from Superman 78, but it was heavily inspired in a lot of places by Smallville. Zack Snyder told us many times that him and his kids watched that TV show together as a family, as many families did. And, there's lots of Smallville Easter eggs. There's a couple of Smallville actors, small-time, Smallville actors in Man of Steel as well. But it's a very original movie. It's very brave. It has an original score. It doesn't have the Superman 78 all-American vibe, if you like. It's a very, very different, it's an uncompromising movie, if you like. And they were very brave to be original. But maybe now is the time to be a little bit more nostalgic about Superman, about DC, about pre-existing characters. With Hollywood being in so much trouble financially, and, this divide between Tinseltown and the consumer, maybe they do need to start pleasing us again and reminding us of better times in Hollywood. And I think that's really, really important as well. But I would, it does look like James is going to be pretty original. So is this going to be a remake of Superman 78? I don't know. Maybe inspired in places, but it is interesting that he's calling the film Superman. Of course, another reason for calling this film Superman, another reason for calling this film Superman could be, instead of Superman Legacy, could be because he changed the story. At the beginning, when I heard the title Superman Legacy, I was worried about the word legacy. Legacy can be something you have after you die. When someone's talking at your funeral, oh, this person's legacy was amazing. They achieved this, they achieved that. Christopher Reeve's legacy was amazing. He was a great actor. He was a great Superman. He really fought for stem cell research, blah, right? So I was worried that he was going to kill Superman off. Maybe he was. Maybe that was his original plan and the studio told him off. Maybe his plan was the same as Hamada's plan, to replace Superman with Supergirl. And maybe the studio said, nah, mate, you can't do that. So maybe that's why he changed the title from Superman Legacy to just Superman. By the way, he's known the actual title of this film for a very long time. But he picked his moment to announce it because he's very clever. He's clever at PR. In terms of being a director, he's very good at formulating a relationship with the public. That's very, very important these days. It's the kind of relationship that Zack Snyder has with his fans as well. But what you're seeing from James Gunn right now is a similar kind of vibe we got from the MCU and Kevin Feige back in the days when the MCU was a trending topic, when everyone was in love with the MCU. When you had Feige on the stage at San Diego Comic-Con and everyone was getting hyped, even me, who's not a big MCU guy, because there are a lot of films in the MCU from phases 1 to 3 that I really like. My favourite phase of the MCU, you probably mentioned it a few hundred times, is phase one. Because they're movies. They feel like old-fashioned, the way movies used to be made, right? Focusing on the movies. That's why I like phase one so much. The first Captain America, the first Avenger, brilliant movie, has so much heart. Really reminds me of this movie here, Superman. And so, yeah. So, if you're James Gunn, you're getting the hype because you need the hype. You need the feel-good factor. And as I said a few days ago, it's pretty clear to me that they've told the actors not to talk any shit in public and to keep it positive. And by the way, if you're working in film, you should be nice about the public, the people you need to go to cinemas, turn on their tellies, subscribe to whatever streaming service your content's on, right? That's important. When I worked on a deli counter in the Co-op as a young man, I hated my customers. But I couldn't tell my customers I hated them. I smiled. Yes, please. Hello, ma'am. You're looking very nice today. Oh, my granddaughter's coming round. I don't give a shit about her granddaughter. But I'm not going to tell her I don't give a shit about her granddaughter. There's too many people in Hollywood, especially the talent, the artists, the actors, right? In actors, I'm not talking about men. In actors, I mean everyone, men and women, or however they identify as, right? It's too easy for them these days to say whatever they want. Wait a minute, Mick, are you saying people shouldn't be able to say what they want? Not when it's the business, not when they're being interviewed. When I was behind that deli counter, I couldn't say what I wanted, right? I couldn't tell them how I felt. Shut the fuck up, smile, be positive about your job, then move on. That's how you sell a movie. How you don't sell a movie is doing what Brie Larson did, probably because Disney told her to, and slag off men from 25 to 50 because they are your main audience, right? And you shouldn't be slagging off any kind of segment of your audience. Doing a press conference talking about problematic men, 25 to 50, and then, you get all these idiots saying, oh, the attacks on Brie Larson were disgusting. She started the attacks. People were just responding to what she said. There was never any need to do that, right? It's a bit like the Gillette ad. Boys will be boys is not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Attacking an entire gender. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you attack your customers? If you have extremist left views or any extremist views, keep them to your fucking self. That was insane. And we can't afford that. James Gunn and Peter Safran, and especially David Zaslav, who's trying to rebuild this studio, trying to trim the fat. 3 back-to-back hits in Barbie, Wonka, and now June 2, that's already made 12 million previews, which is amazing, which is brilliant. 3 back-to-back hits, whether you like Zaslav and what he's done, and you like WB or not, they are rebuilding. And as I said the other day, if James Gunn's Superman can be another hit, another huge hit, and then that means it's a great launch pad for DC Universe. And at the end of the day, and I keep on saying this, and I know I bore you about this, and I repeat myself sometimes, but I think there's some things in life we must reiterate, that I'm a DC fan. You can see that, right? I've mentioned Man of Steel and Superman 78 in the same breath as 2 outstanding films. I was watching Man of Steel last night. I was watching Superman the movie, on Superman's birthday. Superman the movie is a very special movie to me, and I'm never going to turn on that movie. And Man of Steel, I love Man of Steel. I saw that 3 or 4 times. It's a brilliant film. It's a brave contemporary movie. I've said it before, you can like them both. I can't stand it when people slate this movie to try and build up Man of Steel. Or, the other way round. I think that's part of the culture we live in today. So now when people go on to X Twitter and say, oh, Man of Steel is better than Superman the movie is better than Man of Steel, this or that and all that bullshit, I say I love them both. Which costume do you love the best? I love them all. Oh, James Gunn's logo is better than Zack Snyder's logo. Love them both. That angers these people all the more. Then I mute them. That's the best way to do. I love all the iterations of Superman. I think they're beautiful. I think they should be celebrated. The Fleshers cartoons, outstanding. The George Reeves series, groundbreaking. The radio show, groundbreaking. Superboy series, groundbreaking. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, awesome and fun. Smallville, it lit the blue touch paper. It reinvigorated my love for Superman again. Superman Returns, so many great moments in that film. Man of Steel, outstanding and groundbreaking. And I'm very, very excited. The only thing that I haven't bothered watching is My Adventures with Superman, because I feel that may have a lot of alt-left propaganda. And I don't like Lois Lane's haircut in that either, so I think we know what way they're going with that. So I'm keeping away. A lot of people love that animated version, but that's the only iteration that doesn't look that great to me. But hey, if you love that iteration, that's great. Comment down below. Should I give My Adventures with Superman a chance? Let me know. And Superman and Lois is a great version of Superman. Again, it's very contemporary. It's very new. It did something very original with Superman. I watched that pilot episode a lot. I rewatched that pilot episode a lot because I think it's so good. It's such a strong pilot. It may be one of the strongest pilots I've ever seen. So that's great as well. So mostly all the iterations of Superman I love. But I'm going to repeat what I say a lot. Nobody knows if James Gunn's Superman is going to be great, indifferent, crap, mid. We don't know yet. We have to wait and see. So far, so good. I love the cast. I love the logo. I'm excited that we've got a Jimmy Olsen at long last. I'm excited we're going to get a proper Fortress of Solitude. My vivid imagination has imagined so many different versions of the Fortress. So it's going to be interesting. In terms of the cast not being marquee names, this can do the movie's budget a big favour. It means you can spend more money on the film. It's not like they've cast bad people, bad actors in this film. They're great actors and they're perfect for their roles, every single one of them. It's just that they're not going to attract people to the movie. They're not going to put people off the movie, by the way. But in terms of the cast, it isn't something that, screams at you, oh my God, that person's in it. Robert Downey Jr. was in Iron Man. The only reason people watched, were attracted to Iron Man at the beginning before knowing it was a great movie was Robert Downey Jr. It didn't matter that he'd been in prison and he had a bad rep at that point. He was very famous. He played Charlie Chaplin, which to me, still to this day, is his greatest performance. So it's going to be very, very interesting. In fact, the biggest marquee name for James Gunn's Superman is James Gunn. He's probably more famous, than anyone else, bar Nicholas Hoult. And I don't think Nicholas Hoult is that famous in the minds of the general audience. But again, I want to reiterate this. I'm just being honest about my views. I love this cast. I think they're brilliant. I think thus far, James Gunn, in terms of the development of this film and what we've heard of this film, hasn't put a foot wrong. We have to wait and see. James Gunn is a very interesting character. Some people love him, some people hate him. But it's like me. Some people love me, more people hate me. We've all got our haters and lovers out there. There's people making accusations against him on a daily basis. But unless you can prove he's a serial killer or he's broken some other crime that's, hugely serious, unless you can do that, I don't want to hear from you at the end of the day. I don't care, right? He's a really good director. He has made some really good comic book movies, and Peacemaker was sensational as far as I'm concerned. Again, that's my opinion. That doesn't have to be your opinion. I wish Zack Snyder got to finish his arc. I've said this a billion times, and it's like I'm talking to the hearing impaired. And no offense to anyone who has got any hearing problems, by the way. I respect you. Actually, I wish I could do sign language so people, who are hard of hearing could understand what I'm saying. I genuinely mean now, I wish I could do that. Maybe I should. Maybe that will be a good thing. Maybe if this channel is ever successful, we can look to do things so everyone gets to enjoy the channel. Because never think it's not your problem because you don't have that disability at the end of the day. Because at any split second, you may become deaf. You may, let's hope you don't. But, don't ever think, oh, that's their problem, because it's not. Anyway, so I'm excited for this. I'm as excited as I am during the build-up of Superman Returns, Superman 4, which I can remember, very excited at the time. No matter how those films turned out, Man of Steel, the hype was huge. It was amazing, right? BVS, very exciting. So I'm so excited for this film, and I'm so happy with all the positivity around it.